The moment a baby animal is born is one of the most emotional and beautiful moments. Lion cubs are born in the soft grass of Africa. Baby deer take their first shaky steps, and even chicks, when they hatch, make chirping sounds that melt anyone's heart. But this moment isn't so emotional for everyone. Some creatures have a birth that's more like a nightmare, like the birth of a vampire. Well, a vampire bat. There's no sunlight here, no birds singing, just a dark, damp cave in a remote corner of the jungle, a place where even light doesn't dare to enter. The time of birth arrives. The mother bat, with complete indifference, as if delivering a package, separates her baby from herself, and a small, helpless creature falls into the darkness. Its eyes aren't open yet, but it must begin its first struggle for survival. It must fly. Its first flight, in the very first moments of its life. A flight more dangerous than any other. Because its wings aren't ready yet, and worse, its feet aren't strong enough to grip and hang upside down. But unlike fairy tales, no one is waiting for this newborn. No one welcomes it. In this cave, life is a battle for survival from the very first moment. The baby bat clings to the cave ceiling with its weak claws. The only thing keeping it from the sharp rocks below is its trembling grip. If it fails and falls, if it's lucky, maybe just a few bones will break. But if it's unlucky, then it crashes headfirst into the ground and becomes nothing more than an insignificant red stain. In this cave, falling means the end. But what's even more terrifying is that not falling doesn't guarantee survival either. All right, let's assume this newborn bat somehow manages to cling to the cave ceiling and survive its first deadly test. But there's still one huge problem: hunger. Most newborn animals have a ready and available food source. Kittens drink their mother's milk, baby birds open their tiny beaks, and their parents bring them food. But for a baby vampire bat, things are much more complicated because it only needs one specific type of food: blood. Maybe it sounds scary to you, but to the bat, it's even more terrifying. Why? Because this baby bat has no teeth, no strong wings, and it can't even walk properly. So how is it supposed to hunt? The answer is simple. It can't. Its only option is to beg other bats to bring it a drop of blood. Now imagine a cave full of thousands of hungry bats. What are the chances that one of them will take pity on this little creature and bring it food? Almost zero. The rule here is simple. The stronger you are, the higher your chances of survival. And there's another terrifying truth. Even if this baby bat finds blood and manages to drink, there's still no guarantee it will survive. Because there's always a bigger, stronger, hungrier bat that might attack at any moment and steal the blood right from its mouth. Finally, after days of hunger and weakness, the vampire bat grows a little. Now its wings are strong enough to fly, and its small, sharp teeth have emerged. Everything is ready for its first hunt. But when it comes to vampire bats, you should expect even the simplest tasks to turn into disasters. In the world of many animals, this moment can be an exciting beginning. For example, lion cubs experience their first hunt with excitement and pride. Eagles spread their wings and dive majestically toward their prey. Sharks take one sniff and the prey is gone in an instant. But in the world of vampire bats, a young vampire bat's first hunting attempts are rarely successful. Unlike in movies, where vampires approach their victims gracefully and flawlessly, here we have a creature that is not only bad at hunting, but often puts itself in mortal danger. A vampire bat, during its first hunt, is more like an untrained intern on their first day at work, completely clueless. But in any case, the hunt begins. Young bats usually start with small, defenseless prey, like sleeping birds or tiny rodents. But even these simple targets can turn into a nightmare for the bat. The first suggested prey, a small bird. Sounds easy, right? No, my friend. The bat silently approaches, spreads its wings, prepares for a perfect landing, and just as it opens its mouth, but what the bird sees is something entirely different. A clumsy, noisy creature with no control over its movements, more terrifying than dangerous. So the bird screams and flies away, and suddenly the tables turn. The bat itself becomes prey for chickens and roosters. Maybe birds weren't the best option. Let's find an easier target, like a cow, peacefully asleep, not moving at all. The bat quietly approaches, flaps its wings soundlessly, sneaks onto the cow's back, sharpens its teeth, but what the cow sees is completely different. And of course, the first few attempts end with some solid kicks. But if our clumsy little hunter gets lucky and finally manages to take its first bite from an exhausted cow, what do you think happens next? Just a few drops of blood are enough to make the bat stop hunting, because it can't drink any more than that. Even that small amount turns it into a floating balloon. Imagine what would happen if it drank more. So far, we've learned that hunting for a vampire bat is more of a comedy show than a deadly skill. But wait, it gets worse, because now that it has survived the nightmare of hunting, it has to do something simple: return to the cave. Just a little flight, find a good spot, and hang upside down. How hard could it be? Well, for a vampire bat, it's like asking someone to navigate to Mars without GPS. First, let's get one thing straight. A vampire bat on the ground is a complete disaster. Some animals may be bad hunters, but at least they can walk. Even a snail, the slowest of all, can find its way.
1 week later.
2,000 years later.
But a bat? If it lands on the ground, it flails around like an upside-down cockroach, completely lost. And even if we ignore this problem, there's still another one. Vampire bats have no friends. See, some animals have enemies, but at least they have allies too. A deer may be hunted by wolves, but at least it has its herd. A rabbit may be chased by an eagle, but at least it has burrows to hide in. But a vampire bat, it has no safety, neither inside nor outside its home. Bats hunt at night, but don't forget, night predators are also awake. If just one owl is awake and spots a fat, slow bat full of blood, this isn't a battle between predator and prey, it's just a tasty midnight snack for the owl. The bat spent so much effort getting those few drops of blood, and now with one sudden attack, it's about to become food itself. And the bad news? Owls are faster, stronger, and much more ruthless than this clumsy little hunter. Let's assume a bat manages to return to its cave without getting eaten. Is the cave safe? No, because even inside the cave, death is lurking. A single night snake inside the cave, slithering beneath the hanging bats, is all it takes. Vampire bats aren't even safe in their own home. In the world of vampire bats, there's no place for the weak. For example, if a bat fails to hunt for a few days and becomes weak, the group starts to reject it. Others stop sharing blood with it. Not only does it have predators outside, but even inside, no one cares whether it lives or dies. In our human world, bats are always the number one suspect. If a new, deadly disease spreads across the world, who is the first creature everyone blames? The bat. Always the bat. New virus discovered? Blame the bat. A global pandemic starts? Blame the bat. Before scientists even finish their research, the media has already decided the verdict. Yep, it's the bats again. It's like an old case that always has the same suspect written at the top, the vampire bat. But no one stops to think, if a virus is deadly for humans, maybe it's just as much of a disaster for bats too. Vampire bats usually don't live more than 5 to 7 years, and their death is never glorious or dramatic. While an old wolf fights in its last battle to preserve its honor, or an old eagle proudly vanishes into the sky with its final flight, a bat's life ends much more simply. Either it becomes too weak and falls to the ground while hanging, or it slows down and becomes an easy meal for a predator like an owl. Now, after hearing the story of a bat's life, do you think being born as a bat is good or bad? Write your thoughts in the comments. But before saying goodbye, you should know this. If you think a bat's life is hard and terrifying, you haven't seen our next story yet. Click and enjoy.